All right, hey everybody. So we are going to get into, I had a lot of really good questions come through on Instagram yesterday when I posted about fasting. And so we're going to get rolling here into some questions. All right, so the first question I had was on juice fasting and my thoughts on that. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of juice fasting, and the reason for that is because I think my framework around fasting and why we want to do fasting is to really get into an acaloric or severely hypocaloric state, because that's going to trigger different metabolic processes, also called autophagy is one of them, and mitophagy is another. And those are the things that I'm wanting to stimulate with fasting. And so because of that, I'm not a huge fan of juice fasting. Now, sometimes we need to create a bridge between water-only fasting and regular eating. And in those situations, I actually like bone broth fasting a lot better. And the reason for that is because it's going to be a low sugar content, and I don't want insulin just being pumped out all the time when we're doing a juice fast. So not a huge fan overall. All right, so the next question here is on what should be your diet routine as soon as you finish fasting. So one of the biggest things with coming out of a longer fast, so I'm thinking anything longer than 48 hours, is you want to be really light on the gut. And so you're not going to want to be having a huge meal. Generally, bone broths is what I go for. So next question was, do basic supplements break your fast? Most of the time, no. Now, there may be some exceptions. So for example, if you do, if your supplements have any additives, any caloric additives in it, so they've got some calories in it, then it's possible that they could break your fast. Again, it's really unclear what that definition even means on breaking your fast, because you can get fasting like physiological responses when you do things like the fasting mimicking diet or a ketogenic diet, but I still think that's very different than actually doing water-only fasting. And so in general, most supplements are not going to break your fast. There are some supplements we don't want to take while fasting just because we need food to absorb them, or they do so much better with food. But for the most part, basic supplements don't break your fast. All right, so next question was, is it valid to have hot like tea drinks with honey in them and some phytonutrients while fasting? Look, if you're going to do a fast, I'm a big believer in you're either going to do something like the fasting mimicking diet, which is strategically planned out, or you're going to do a water-only fast where you're not taking in any additional calories, something like honey, even if it's something small like a teaspoon, because that could be enough to change how your body is perceiving nutrients, which is one of the biggest triggers for the different things that we are looking to actually accomplish with our fasting, which is mainly going to be autophagy and mitophagy. And so generally, I say no to anything caloric during a fast, unless you are doing a strategic like bone broth fast or a fasting mimicking diet. All right, next question is on light exercise and if that is recommended during fasting. And yes. Now, you have to be careful. You want to learn your own individuality in terms of exercise. So if you are normally going to the gym 5-6 days a week, you're going pretty hard, intense. When you fast, you just need to take it one day at a time, start slow so you can figure out kind of what your ability to tolerate exercise while fasting is. You're not going to try to be pushing any 1-rep maxes. You should not be doing the hardest HIIT training you've ever done. You should want to scale the intensity back a bit, but exercising can actually potentiate some of the benefits that we get out of fasting. And so I do like exercise while you're fasting. However, you have to make sure that you are doing your due diligence to understand what your body can handle and can take. So our next question here was asking if fasting can stress yourself. And yeah, at the end of the day, fasting is a stress on the body, but the whole point of the fast is to go through this stress and have your body have a physiological rebound response, which is where we get the benefits out of fasting. So while it can be, some people tend to think of, oh, all stress is bad. That's not actually the case. There are appropriate amounts of stress, and we can use stress in situations like this to get a positive, beneficial effect out of it. So our next question here is, should we do any fasting while we're getting regenerative injection therapies like prolotherapy, PRP, and that kind of stuff? I am a fan of fasting prior to those procedures. So generally what I'm going to tell a large majority of my patients is probably for within the 2 to 3 weeks before the procedure, we're going to want to do some form of fasting because that's going to help to basically go through this autophagy process where we're going to eliminate some of the old damaged cells that we don't want and make rise for new ones to come in and replace them. And so in the weeks prior to a procedure, yes. After a procedure, I generally don't like to do any extensive fasting because we want to make sure that the body is in an anabolic state as much as possible, because that's going to help with protein building, muscle building, connective tissue rebuilding, and improve outcomes from that side of the equation. All right, everybody, so that is unfortunately all we have time for today to answer questions on fasting, but I'm sure that we will do something like this again. I wasn't able to, I think because I'm doing the dual phone here. I got one phone up top to record the longer video for everybody, and then my old phone here for Instagram, and I think it's an old version of Instagram. And so if I was trying to tag you in the actual question, it only gave me like 15 seconds to answer, which is nowhere near long enough because you know me, I love to talk. As my wife says, I love to hear myself talk. But so that's what we got for today. If you have any more questions, go ahead, feel free to DM me, and maybe I'll do one of these in a few days to kind of recap and rehash this. But hope you guys found some value in those questions. And again, I'll release the longer form video, which is up top here, probably in the next week or so. Hope everyone is having a killer day. See y'all later.